It's been 4 months since my last DC video came out, and you guys really liked that one. A lot of you subscribed from that video, and I'm sorry for keeping you guys waiting so long for something like it. But I want to talk about my favorite group of superheroes, the Green Lanterns. I love the Green Lanterns a lot. Back when I was a kid, I loved the color green. Don't ask me why, I just love green. In Star Wars, I loved the green lasers, I loved Yoda, I loved Luke's green lightsaber, you get the point. Then I started to get into superheroes, starting with Spider-Man, and then I'd see more and more, until I stumbled on the hero that flies around in a green suit, shooting green things out of a green ring. Kid me lost his shit, and years later, I still love the Green Lanterns. Back then, of course, I mainly learned about Hal Jordan, since he's like the main Green Lantern. But of course, there's a lot of Green Lanterns. There's really 7 main human Green Lanterns, depending on what you count. In my opinion, this bunch is among the coolest in fiction. But unfortunately, the mainstream media has not been too kind for the Green Lanterns. Because of that, their status has plummeted. A lot of DC characters have had their status drop because of mistreatment by mainstream media, but the Green Lanterns have been hit the hardest of the main bunch. People simply do not care about them. They've been left behind, left to dry. But I believe this bunch has so much potential to become household names. And I kind of already talked about them a little in my last DC video, but we're expanding on that. Because I truly love the Green Lanterns, they are very special to me, and they need to get the attention they deserve. So let's start with how we got to this point. How did the Green Lanterns get so forgotten? Well, in short, TV shows and movies focused on the Green Lanterns have either been horrible or not that big. The biggest atrocity was of course a live-action Green Lantern movie, the one with Ryan Reynolds in it. And to truly look at how bad this movie was for the Green Lanterns, we need to set some more context. If you ask someone today to name a superhero group, they would most likely say the Avengers, which makes perfect sense. The MCU was a gigantic cultural icon during its run, and the Avengers were its star player. Each one of the 4 installments made over $1 billion and were gigantic hits. Even the one with the worst reception, Age of Ultron, still made boatloads of money and was still considered decent by many. But it wasn't always like this. If you go back in time pre-MCU, the Avengers were not household names at all. The Justice League were a more popular group, and even within Marvel, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four were much more liked than the Avengers. There's a reason that Fox wanted both Marvel groups and Sony just wanted Spider-Man. The characters of the Avengers were just not that much of an interest. But look at what has happened to the X-Men and Fantastic Four. They have now plummeted in mainstream popularity because their movies have been so detrimental. Of course, someone like Wolverine survived a little and now the Fantastic Four have an MCU installment, but so much damage has been done. Mainstream adaptations are what completely dictates public opinion. A positive version along with the Avengers is the Guardians of the Galaxy. If you ask someone before the first Guardians movie came out, who are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I highly doubt anyone would know, but now they're among the most beloved and popular superhero teams out there. And this series of movies specifically will be important for us to remember because of who made it, of course. We'll get to that when it gets to that, but now let's circle back to the live-action Green Lantern movie. The movie came out in 2011, so this is actually before Avengers 1 came out, so the MCU craze really hadn't hit yet. To this point, Iron Man 1 was really the only one that was really well liked, and that was off the hype the Dark Knight trilogy created for superhero movies. So this was DC's chance to spark their own universe, to beat Marvel again like they had been doing for so long. The character they chose, Hal Jordan, was made for the big screen. He has some similar traits to Tony Stark. Arrogant, brash, maverick, heroic. That is most likely why they chose him to make a movie. And it could not have gone any worse. This movie is nearly unanimously considered to be among the worst superhero movies ever made. It has a 25% score on Rotten Tomatoes. That is less than Suicide Squad. No, not the one with King Shark people like, the 2016 one. A movie that is so hilariously poorly made that is still laughed at today nearly a decade later. A movie that prevented its sequel from succeeding because it shared the same name. Green Lantern was received worse, and I have never watched this movie and I never will. You could not pay me any amount of money to watch my favorite character get massacred on the big screen, and they really thought this was going to be the spark for a DC movie universe. They had the post-credit scene hinting at sequels just like in Iron Man 1, but of course that would not happen. DC would try again with Snyder and Man of Steel, and we know how that went down. But this movie truly had tarnished the name Green Lantern for the general public. So let's see how the animated universe treats them.
Back and peep the light show. Green Lantern's got this.
God damn it, dude. In all fairness though, this DC AMU's Green Lantern wasn't that bad and also was pretty good. It was pretty faithful overall, but it was just his power level that really suffered. In fact, this scene in the movie was basically a one-to-one copy of the New 52 Justice League comic, with some changes, and one of them was making his beatdown look extra worse. It happens again too, he gets beat the fuck up by Doomsday in a later movie. Other than that, there have been good representations of Green Lantern, whether it be Justice League Unlimited with Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern animated series with Hal, Batman Brave and the Bold with Hal and Guy. It is isn't all negative. The issue is these good representations pale in comparison to the colossal abomination of that live action movie. His name got so tarnished that there wasn't a Green Lantern in the Snyderverse, instead having characters like Aquaman and Cyborg in the league. Now, Aquaman has always been a leaguer, and he should be, but having him and not a Lantern is a little ridiculous. Aquaman has always been a joke too, traditionally. He was the talk-to-fish guy, but they decided to put him in the movie and try to make him look cool, which to be fair, they did. Cyborg is a traditional member of the Titans, and while recently he has been in the league more, again, having him and not a Lantern is just horrible, but maybe that was a blessing in disguise to not have had one in the Snyderverse to not get ruined by Snyder. But that in short gets us to today, where the Green Lanterns are on life support, and there are 2 projects planned to revolve around the Green Lanterns coming soon. The big one, of course, being Lanterns, the DCU live-action show, and of course there's the animated My Adventures of Green Lantern. The latter, of course, being a much smaller deal than the first, but still, the first installment, My Adventures of Superman, did pretty good and helped restore Superman's image before the movie fully did. So it's not something to fully dismiss, but both are going to be make or break for Green Lantern. If these don't stick the landing, especially Lanterns, I don't think Green Lantern will ever reach mainstream popularity. We know very little about Lanterns and I guess a decent amount from My Adventures, but both have some potential red flags. So now it's time to talk about what it looks will happen with these and what I hope will happen with these in the future. And you might have noticed I have yet to put that I have not read any comics disclaimer. I did last time I talked about DC and I caught some well-deserved flack. I haven't said that so far because it's no longer applicable to me. Kind of. I've read an entire run of Green Lantern comics. I know, clap. The Sam Humphries New 52 Green Lanterns run. And did I think it was good? Yeah, I really liked it overall. It had really incredible character work throughout, had many good arcs, and looked amazing. Though it went a little long, some arcs felt redundant and didn't need to happen, and there were few but some questionable character decisions. I'll go over it more as it becomes more relevant. Now you might be wondering why I chose these comics, because well, they aren't the most famous or considered the best of the best. Well, to explain, I'm gonna play this clip from my last video. If you ask me what's my favorite romance, I would say like Shin and Lena, or maybe Aaron and Mikasa, or like a Jessica Cruz and It's Nova for Real. Yeah, I really like Jessica Cruz. And Simon Bass too, I love him too, I didn't forget him. But Jessica is probably my favorite superhero of all time. It's her or Wally. I'm not gooning over her, I just really find her amazing and relatable. Though her being hot really helps, but come on guys, everyone is hot here. I'll go more in depth with her later on, of course. And a secondary reason I read this run is that I think it's a great blueprint for the Green Lanterns in the DCU, because so much is already established in this run, which is the vibe of this new universe. Hell, we already saw Guy Gardner in Superman, who I thought was great. I don't think that needs more elaboration. But that means they've been at it for a good bit now. But if you think this isn't enough comics to comment on this, I completely respect that and I can't say you're wrong. But just like in my last video, these characters are very special to me. I grew up with them, I know them well, I am truly passionate about them, and I really want them to succeed. So let's start with Lanterns, because again, this is the big make or break. It's the big production official DCU installment for the Green Lanterns. So what do we know about it? Well, we know that Jon Stewart is the lead with an older Hal Jordan, and it aims to be a darker, more grounded detective-like series. And that's pretty much about it. It even got delayed to the summer of 2026, when it was originally slated to release in early 2026. So yeah, there's a couple of red flags peeking out. First, let's talk about what the Green Lanterns are fundamentally. They are space cops. They fly out in space to enforce laws and fight crime. The key word here is space, and space is not very grounded. It's, well, you know, the opposite. Now, this is not to say that the approach they're going for is not going to work. In fact, they chose the best two to do this type of story, I think. Hal, John, and presumably Guy for a bit are classic Earth Lanterns. They all serve on the Justice League, and a lot of their stories are based on Earth. My bigger issue is not the Earth part, but the darker part. Green Lantern stories are meant to be visually colorful. Their superhero suits are bright, glowing green. They don't fit summer like Gotham. Also, they have very intricate mythos based on aliens and space stuff. I worry that going with this approach will limit what they can do with these characters. That a dark, grounded, detective-based story might not be the best fit and they'll be better off in another direction. But these concerns are pretty minor. There are many worlds where this works, where the style is engaging and mixes the darker detective bits with the more bright and mystical Green Lantern bits really effectively. I have no doubt that this is possible, but it is only possible if they can nail these characters. I've said before that superhero stories are entirely character-driven. You watch the movies or shows and read the comics because you love the characters. Obviously you want the plot to be good, but the characters are the most important. Look at the Arrowverse. These shows are proof that if you make your leads likable and compelling, you can punch above your weight and have long-running shows. The Flash should be about half as long as it turned out to be, but Barry was so good that he was able to carry the show over where it should have ended. So above all else, for Lanterns to succeed, Hal and John have to be amazing. And this is where the concern lies with aging up Hal. Hal Jordan is still probably the face that people think when you say Green Lantern. By aging him up, you put him on the sidelines. Many people believe that he shouldn't be on the sidelines, and rather be right at the center of attention, and he deserves a story where he is, but that's not the biggest issue with this. Aging him up has potentially weird effects on the rest of the Lantern lore. Does this mean he's already had his clashes with Sinestro? If so, that's a really important bit to just not have. Did Carol become a Star Sapphire? Is she a full-time Sapphire? Are they together? That's also pretty important. A lot of these things revolve around Hal since he was a de facto Green Lantern for a while. Even going beyond just the Green Lantern stuff, how does this affect his dynamics with other notable characters? His dynamics with Barry and Oliver are among the most iconic in all of DC. Has all of that already happened? Did it never happen in this universe? There's just so many questions. In the run I read, Hal wasn't included that much, but his presence was still felt. He was alleged and the Green Lantern, so changing something about him in turn changed a lot of other things around him. Of course, they can just change how the whole world of Lanterns works, which is not too much of an impossibility, but that would also be quite odd, and we just have to see how it works, I guess. But I don't have too many doubts on if they make Hal likable, because usually the mentor archetype is pretty likable, and making Hal old wouldn't change what makes him so fun. It'd honestly make him more fun, kind of. So I'm not too worried about Hal himself, just the overall ramifications of him being older and very established, which I am not overly concerned for, just warily cautious. But of course, Lanterns is a John Stewart story, so he has to be good for the show to be good, and I have enough belief that that is going to happen. There is a little worry because John is traditionally not a lead, not to say he's never a lead or a bad one, just that he's usually a side character. In Justice League Unlimited, he was the main Green Lantern and a great character, but that show really didn't have a lead. It had episodes where each one was a lead, including John, but he was not the main focus. In the Humphreys run I read, he was a core leader, which I thought was a cool direction to take with him. He always fit a more leadership role. He has a military background and has a more calm demeanor that fits that. Now, from what we know about Lanterns, it seems like this is more of an early Lantern John, so most likely be too early for him to have an official leadership role in any capacity. But he should show these qualities throughout this early show. I think being paired up with Hal and Guy would be very good environment for showing that leadership. Hal isn't a dumbass, but he can get cocky and arrogant, and Guy is just a dumbass, so John can emerge as the most level-headed one and emerge as a leader. And John, I think, is the one that fits this darker, more grounded tone better. He has a military background, as mentioned before, and he also has an architect background, which shows his discipline and ties into his construct style. And speaking of that, everyone has their own unique construct style. Each one's style ties into their background, and the specific constructs they make are references to them as people. I hope they incorporate that in the show and in the DCU in general. I'm assuming there won't be too many constructs used in the show if it's more grounded, so I'm hoping for quality over quantity in this first season. Like, fine, it's not gonna be much, but it better be cool when it does happen. This is also pure speculation, but I think a reason they decided to go in this route with the style is that they didn't want too much CGI stuff for budget reasons, because admittedly, Green Lantern is a very hard to adapt character for live action due to how CGI heavy they are. And if you weren't gonna fully commit, you might as well go bare bones. Anyway, going back to John, I don't have too much concern overall for his character and how it will be executed. Since John doesn't seem to have changed that much, there aren't concerns of his dynamics with other characters changing. So while I do have concerns over Lanterns, I have enough faith that this first season will be at least decent. James Gunn has yet to fail on a superhero project, and until he does, I am giving him the benefit of the doubt. I have trust in his ability to execute these characters and this more dark twist on the franchise. And we really have no idea what the plot is at all. We just know it's some sort of dark murder mystery type thing, which is very intriguing. We have no idea who this is about or what it's based on, so until we get more information, I don't think I can comment further on this plot. But overall, I would have high hopes and expectations for this first season. The more fun thing to talk about is what the DCU should do with the Lanterns moving forward, whether in movies or future seasons of Lanterns. And we need to address an elephant in the room here, and that is whether or not they're going to have an adaptation of Parallax. Now, the reason I personally think there is going to be some version of Parallax is that the three main Earth Lanterns have been established to already exist, and there's no way that they do not add another Lantern at all for the entire run of the DCU. Unless we go back in time to adapt Alan Scott, which while not impossible, I don't view that as that likely. The next in line is Kyle Rayner, who I said in my last video deserves it, and who I didn't have footage to use for. Some people very kindly mentioned he was on one episode of the old Superman animated series, but this guy is not even Kyle. He's Hal with Kyle's name, which proves my point even more. And the issue with adapting Kyle is his origin story. His most famous and original origin story is Hal goes evil, possessed by Parallax after the destruction of Coast City, and goes on to murder the whole Corps, then Ganthet, a Guardian, finds Kyle and gives him the last ring. The more modern origin story with the whole evil Hal thing being retconned is that he was just another guy who got recruited. So obviously both have glaring issues, one being horrible for another character and the other being really boring. So I propose a middle ground. Have Parallax, but don't have him possess Hal. Parallax is this weird yellow dragon cosmic entity of fear. Just have him himself be a villain. Have him take out the core, not kill all of them, maybe imprison all of them, I don't know, try to take Oa's energy or something. Then have Ganthet be the last refugee of Oa and give Kyle a ring, making him functionally the last Green Lantern. I think this is a decent balance, because my god, if they make Hal evil, I'm gonna lose my fucking shit. If they age him up, Cylon him, just to make him evil, I'm done. That's so fucking stupid. And this ties into another problem with superhero stories, and that is the whole good guy turns evil arc. Look, I get it. At one point in time, this was really interesting, because superheroes were just really static, but it is almost 2026. It has been done so many times, we do not need it anymore. The original Parallax story is really fucking dumb. You're telling me the greatest Green Lantern to ever live would ever kill the core? I get that he got a city annihilated, but he would not do that. Just like Injustice, Superman wouldn't become an evil dictator. But that gets a pass because that's an Elseworld. A shit Elseworld, but it is not a main timeline story. Parallax was a main timeline story. What the fuck were we doing? And like, we really should have moved on from this trope, because superhero stories are hero stories. They all follow the hero's journey. You know, the archetype so ever present. It's in basically every hero story, from fucking ancient Greece to our brain rotted times. You just don't like hero stories if you want evil heroes. Go watch something else. Yeah, it's just something that really gets on my nerves. I have a few more rants like this in me, so just be ready, guys. Just be ready. Anyway, going back to Kyle, I don't know what exactly to do with him, but you have to make him unique. The original point of him was to make him the last Green Lantern. Of course, we're not doing that, at least permanently, so we need to do another thing. And I have previously said to make him the White Lantern, which I do really want to happen, but I have no fucking idea how to do that, what story to do and how to execute it, because it would be a gigantic arc in the overall scheme of the DCU. That would have to be a movie, I think, and you know what? This might be the perfect thing for James Gunn. A movie where this relatable, charismatic guy travels to all parts of space to learn how to unlock this new power, because you know, he made his name off of making movies about a group of dumbasses traveling through space and dumb shit. We'll get to that more later, but yeah, Kyle will be in very good hands. He is genuinely hilarious too. He's the most unique with his artistic constructs, and he's just someone you can't hate. He's dramatic, he's extra, he made a fucking Gundam. Also, have him and JB together, and do not, I repeat, do not give him a fridge. Kyle has crazy potential to be a huge hit. People have loved him for decades, but just had nothing that he was in. And in the run I read, he really wasn't in it that much. But whenever he was pretty good. Always bringing in an element of humor and charisma, and I wish there's more of him. He's part of 4 Corpsmen, along with the other main 3, and he should be an integral part of the Lanterns. But there is a pair of Lanterns that I believe have even more potential. And I'll go as far as to say that if done well, they may even become more popular than the classic Lanterns and more. I would like to introduce the Green Lanterns of the modern era, Jessica Cruz and Simon Baz. They're the whole reason I chose the Sam Humphries run to read, and they did not disappoint one bit. While the arcs and plots were a little shaky at times, these two were exceptional, and I might even say perfect the whole time. Barring one thing, I guess, but I'll get to that. Let's start with Jessica, who is probably my favorite superhero ever. Wally, I love you, man, but man was she good. There are plenty of things to love about Jessica Cruz, and they are all based on the foundation of her relatability. Now, of course, having your friends murdered in front of you is not a universal experience, but her struggles with mental health are something that resonates so well in a generation who struggles so hard with it. Isolating yourself in your room is something that can be very relatable. It is truly something that you can say while reading She's Like Me. And having her be a Green Lantern with these struggles is so interesting. Not just because she has to overcome fear. Every Green Lantern has to overcome fear. But her battles with fear are so unique compared to the rest and are so applicable to today. Whereas Hal's battles with fear often revolve around him failing colossally, crashing a jet and bursting into flames, Jess's battles revolve around tiny things like just getting up in the morning. Having someone like that have to fight these things while being an intergalactic space cop is so good. While it might sound weird for someone who threw hands with Darkseid to be deathly scared of a party, it makes so much sense and it's so relatable. Maybe because I am also someone who struggles with social anxiety that I love seeing her more. But they really cooked with her, and she slowly and surely overcomes these battles. She doesn't get fully cured, she just feels better bit by bit and is able to manage manage it better and better day by day. You see her slowly improve and you root for her. Her finally overcoming her past demons by being with people that love her and helping those around her. Her even going to parties and gatherings because she's more comfortable with the people close to her and trusts them and herself more. So we are not doing the whole she's a Yellow Lantern. That is so fucking stupid. I know she doesn't go evil, but still the entire fucking point of her development in this run was that she overcome her fears and is a true Green Lantern. You don't even have to go that far to see this. When she put on the Phantom Ring, she was still a Green Lantern. And also, she already was a Fear Ring person. She was fucking Power Ring. Why do you want that again? Sure, I haven't read this Yellow Lantern arc, but the concept is so fucking stupid. Anyway, another very important thing with Jessica is that she is so fucking fun. She says the corniest shit, and it's amazing. She said sweet sassy molassy. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but that's great. She mentioned pop culture icons. She made a giant Kurt Cobain. She has a crush on the Flash, which great taste. There's this gag with her and Simon that being employed is harder than being a Green Lantern, which is really funny. And my favorite part, she loves Pokemon. I am a humongous Pokemon nerd, so when I saw that she liked Pokemon, I lost my shit. James Gunn, if you could get a scene where Jessica Cruz plays Pokemon, my childhood nerd lizard brain will be satisfied for life. Here, I made her a team. Nintendo, I know you are very stingy about copyright, but please, I played and loved Legend ZA, even though it's very lacking. I'll put up with the dumbass ranked Mega Stones. Please just let her play Pokemon in an adaptation. Anyway, I think we can go to Simon now. I'm not done talking about Jessica, but the rest is about her dynamic, so I think I should introduce her best and main dynamic, which is Simon Baz. Simon is also a character that modern audiences will resonate with so deeply. Of course, getting unjustly sent to Guantanamo Bay is not something the majority of people relate to, but getting profiled and judged based on your race and religion, that is absolutely something so many people today would relate with. That is again another unique take on fighting fear as a Green Lantern. He is scared to death of not being good enough and being imprisoned again, yet he also slowly gets better. That symbolism of him having that gun and then giving it up is so good, which makes it a little dumb that he used it again, but I digress. Also, having someone who's wrongfully imprisoned become a space cop of the largest scale is a very intriguing concept that they executed perfectly. He's understanding yet fair as law enforcement. He also, like Jessica, is fucking hilarious. Both of them being funny has a lot to do with how well they bounce off of each other, but Simon in general is also just a really funny guy. And I'm not a car guy, but I thought him being a car guy was really fun. That's what these two are to me. They're just so fun. So let's get into their dynamic, because it is so fucking good. Having two basically polar opposite people forced to work together and grow together is a very classic trope, and Jess and Simon are the best example of this I've ever seen. They doubt each other and really dislike each other at first, but over time, they slowly trust each other more and more to the point where there's no one else they'd rather be with. A good bit is because as their abilities improve, they trust each other more on duty, but also they really warmed up to each other as people. They hung out a lot and they realized that they match really well. They're both people that feel ostracized by the world, whether by internal or external factors. Being with each other made them feel less isolated and that they really aren't alone. The power of pancakes, I guess. Aren't they that good? I never really liked them that much. I haven't had one in a while. Maybe I should have Jaybird likes them so much. I don't think you can hate on these two, and they work so fucking well with each other. I'm seriously dying to see them adapted. This run revolved around Jessica and Simon traveling around space to different planets doing a bunch of shit. And it got fucking wild. They got sent back billions of years and fought with the first Green Lanterns? Holy fuck, that's sick! But does that not sound familiar to another superhero thing that James Gunn has made? A space adventure with fun, relatable characters? This is right in his wheelhouse, and he'll do so good. He made the Guardians of the Galaxy, a completely unknown team household names. He can easily make Jess and Simon the same. Originally in my last DC video, I said Jess should be on the Titans for a bit and Simon should be on the League. I don't think Jess would be that good on the Titans now looking at it, and I really think Jess and Simon should be paired up as much as possible, which makes the ending of the Humphreys run a little odd for me since Jess leaves to do her own thing, but to be fair, I don't mind that. It's fitting for a character, I'd say. But there is an elephant in the room when talking about these two, and it's should they be romantically together. Now, you know me, I love a good romance, and these two could be for sure a great, amazing romance. One of the best, actually. The foundation is so strong, but at the same time, them remaining just really close friends is also a very good option, going on a more Dick and Donna route. What should not happen is what happened in the Humphreys run. They teased us and then dropped it. Oh my god, this was so fucking stupid. They had a whole arc on a superhero dating app and Simon struggling to find someone, and both him and Jessica realize that they are each other's most important person by far. That plus the foundation laid out from the rest of the fucking story, and they had a perfect time to confess and get together. It would have been done so well if they got together here, but no! Simon just says he's gonna focus on himself, even though clearly both of them would be very open. The whole Jessica being embarrassed by matching him on the app, the classic rom-com thing, you go nowhere with that? Jesus Christ, it's so bad. Commit to one thing, don't try to be cute with it. This is just an underlying problem with superhero media. They sometimes are so fucking bad at romance. They don't want to commit, leading to super annoying moments, and it's so frustrating because there's so much potential that gets wasted. If you want them to get together, make it clear and do it. If you don't, just make it clear and don't do it. Don't play the awkward middle ground. It's super annoying. Also, we are not doing this dumb fucking Jess and Barry shit. I know it's a given, but this was never serious, come on. And hey, if you don't want Jess and Simon, there's always Jess and It's Nova for I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, these two, if done right, would be humongous hits and become instant fan favorites. It's my dream to see these two done well, especially Jessica. She is made for the spotlight. Well, she probably wouldn't like that, but you get the point. There's some question about how to do her origin story with Power Ring, and some are saying you have to do the Crime Syndicate, but you don't. They already kind of cheated with that. Ultraman and Superman is not the Earth 3 Ultraman, and you already have a name to work with, the Ring of Volthoom. Just have Volthoom make an evil ring and have her have it. And Simon literally is in nothing. Like, I'm being serious now, he's not in anything. He really deserves it. So that's the main DCU stuff I wanted to talk about, so I'll briefly comment on the My Adventure show now. In short, I have no idea what the fuck they're doing. It's a Jessica Cruz show, which got me really excited, but it seems to ignore everything about her character. She's aged down to be a high schooler, which really lessens her importance. There's plenty of stories about high school struggles with mental health, less so about young adults, but more significantly, they completely changed her origin story from watching her friends die and locking herself in her apartment for years, to puberty hits and people got mean to her. We can see the issue with this, right? I understand that for a show more targeted for younger audience, they might not have wanted to do the really dark one, but there had to have been a better middle ground than this. What makes Jess's struggle special is it's not just her anxiety and social anxiety, it's that it's also PTSD and agoraphobia. It makes her eventual overcoming of this to be so much more impactful and have much more payoff. Making it just kids are mean to her lessens it by so much, but this is all pretty bad sounding. And then we get to the other characters. Kyle Rayner's in the show. That's great, he's not in anything. But wait, does that say he's the main love interest? Jesus fuck, what does DC have against Simon? I don't understand why they don't put Simon, the character with the best dynamic with Jess, and a potential romance in this show. Why is Kyle in this role? And a bigger question, why is this just not a Kyle Rayner show? The plot seems to be about there not being many Green Lanterns. Who does that sound like? That would fit Kyle perfectly. And it makes so much more sense for Kyle to have this show and just have something later on. Jesus man, this just sounds like a mess. But the show itself probably won't be bad, just not great representation of the characters, which is unfortunate. While Jessica has been in a fair amount of things over the years, she has only had one really serious adaptation, and that was in a movie no one watched. The rest are just a bunch of kid shows, which I'm nothing against, but I just don't count it as representation. It's like I don't count Teen Titans Go as representation for those characters. I think this show is fine to exist and I grew up on it, but this is not something you should watch if you want Teen Titans content. I was hoping this show could have been a gateway for more people to look into Jessica, and it still might, but I'm just very discouraged about it. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about, which was a lot. Jesus fuck, this might end up being the longest video I've ever made, at least my second. It's because I am really passionate about these characters. I love them so much, and they are really special to me. I want them to be represented well and to be loved by more. I do want to mention one more thing, and this is to give these characters cool power feats. These guys are comic book fans, that's what they like lose their shit over. Green Lantern ring is supposedly the strongest weapon in the universe. It should be showcased. I mean, they've done some crazy shit in the comics. Kyle makes Gundams, Jess helped the weight of 46 tillion Thanksgiving turkeys, and did brain surgery on like 10 people at the same time. Simon has a reverse curse technique. Kyle beats Superman and above level threats and so on. They are powerful, extremely powerful. That needs to be shown. Now, I didn't mention some Lanterns, Alan Scott the original one, Sojourner Mullion, who was known for Far Sector and a current lead for Absolute Green Lantern, and Kelly the Teen Lantern. The reason for that is I simply do not know much about them, and I apologize. Out of all of them, I think Jo has the most potential, but she needs to be a standalone thing, which I think could definitely work. The Absolute line is getting more and more popular, and I think the DCU could benefit from having her. I will say though, they completely fucked her over with her suit. She doesn't even have one, it's just a jacket, and it's not even green. They made Absolute Batman a tank, Absolute Wonder Woman a hot jacked warrior with a robot arm and a giant sword, and they gave Jo a jacket. That just sucks, man. Green Lanterns can never catch a break. But the future does look bright for the Green Lanterns. More projects are coming up, and importantly, are in great hands. I went over my opinions on the characters and how they should work, which I hope you guys enjoyed, and if If you didn't, yell at me in the comments. I wish everyone a happy holiday season, and remember, in brightest day,
in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light!